my friend, the low rider. The low rider is a little higher.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Tripp's Corner here on ProView Networks, and we are very honored for this show to bring a legendary coach on Hall of Fame coach. Cooper Henderson is with us, taking the drive up from Artesia here at Cleveland High School. Coach, welcome. Great of you to drive up and join us.
Thank you, Richard. It's a pleasure to be with you guys and appreciate what ProView does covering our state athletics.
Well, thank you very much, Coach. Coach, pretty much let's just jump on board here and get right down to it. One of the things I like about doing this show is you really get to know people, things that you don't generally know. Everybody knows about the coaching history, the tradition, of you and your father, for example, and the legacy. But I like to start off with Cooper Henderson, the young man, the Cooper Henderson, the guy growing up to become the athletic director, which you are not Artesia. Tell us about some of those early days growing up in Artesia and what it was like being a Bulldog fan, but just as a child growing up in Artesia.
I was really blessed growing up. In fact, many times coaches have to move off and on throughout their career, and I was in the time period where my dad, I started kindergarten in Artesia and graduated, and then he moved a little bit after that, so I got to go all the way through the school system there at Artesia, and that was a lot of fun. I think some of my earliest memories are still things created by being in a home where a mom who was just as excited about what my dad was doing as he was, and if not more so, and growing up with that excitement about what was going on with the Bulldogs, what was going on at the high school. We from a very young age, she'd take us to games, and it was all just something we really enjoyed. And I know you hear a lot of people talk about the stress or whatever that coaching put on family. Honestly, my family has always been one, when growing up, where we look forward to football season, look forward to that time of year. It was exciting, and I was equally blessed. We may talk later on with having a wife who's kind of raised our kids the same way. So it was a lot of fun growing up in Artesia, going through school there.
That's one of the things, you hear these days about coaches' families. One of the things, and of course your mother, of course, was a coach's wife. And, when your father was coaching, what was that like on a Friday? You see these things on the internet now, social media, coaches' wives and these things. Kind of describe your mother, I guess, is what I'm asking, as being the typical coach's wife.
Well, you saw my wife tonight. She's in her orange, and that's what Fridays were about. Mom would be dressed in that orange and ready to go, and we had one of those, and be real honest, Dad wasn't around on Fridays. He was going with the team with the game, but she was always there getting us ready to go, being excited about who we were playing, what we were doing. And really it's kind of a neat, you have almost kind of a secondary unit family in our case. She would, oftentimes we'd go to games with other coaches' families or wives, and after home games we'd always have dinners where all the coaches got together, all the way up from the junior high coaches to the high school, and after the game, coaches would come, and all the kids got to be where they got to play, and so you got to know the other coaches' kids real well, and it's just a lot of good memories and all that. Of course, it makes it even a little more special when you start thinking about the memories when you have those times where you get to go. In those days, state game was on Thanksgiving Day,
right?
So there, a lot of great memories about family coming in and people being there, and what really you had tons of things to be thankful for.
That brings up an interesting question there, like you said, from a coach's standpoint, again, the family aspects. I know you are very family oriented, and I kind of believe you preach that to your players, and again, we'll get into that later on. Has that always been instilled in the Artesia football family, the family unit?
I really believe it has, and as far as you talking about as a team type concept, yes, you bet it has, and it's one of those things that it's probably a little easier to do in one high school town, in a town our size than some places, but I think that really had some things started, and a lot of them were started by my dad when it was that time, but they have a quarterback club that also they each take what they call quarterback son, and they're really mentors. It's not my quarterback dad was someone who showed up when I got married, showed up when I coached the state game. You know, he wasn't someone that just was there for a year or two to tell you go win some ball games. They were those guys you developed a relationship that lasted a lifetime. He's passed since this time,
right.
But that was kind of one of the things that I think that Artesia started that's still being continued today with many of the men becoming really mentors for young men. That I think we need as many mentors throughout life as we can get, and it's been a real positive thing.
You know, you say that started way back when I guess your dad kind of started it, which shows, you know, the great tradition besides football that goes on in that town. I know when I go through there and you go down Main Street and just to see the orange, you know, and signs on the doors, closed for game and whatnot, as a young man growing up, did you understand it at that point? Did you kind of take it all in? Did you understand really what was going on back then?
I think you just were more excited about it as much as understanding, but you were real excited. And, you know, and Artesia for a long time has been that way. We've had people talk to us about, because we changed Halloween night when it falls on Friday, and, you know, some places that wouldn't be so good. But Artesia, they just take that in stride, and that's good. We'll have Halloween Saturday or whenever we need to, you know. So Friday nights, it's a big deal in Artesia.
You know, when your father, I don't know if you were around then or if you were born, so excuse me for bringing this up, when the first state championship was won by your father, or when you started recognizing as a young man these state championships, it must have been a great feeling even as a young man to see that.
It really was, and you looked as I was old enough to win their first state championship to be in elementary school, recognize players. And I think that's another thing that we really challenge our athletes, and I know everywhere has a good program does, to be role models for the younger athletes. And I know as a young man growing up in Artesia, I can name a lot of those people that were role models for me and people that I really looked up to and enjoyed watching play football. And I had an older brother who was definitely one of those people particularly.
You know, that's something there, Coach. Coach, when we come back, segment 2 of Tripp's Corner, we're going to talk about Cooper Henderson, life after Artesia High School. When we come back on Tripp's Corner.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Las Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203. ProView Network crew, assemble! High school sports are back live on ProView Sports Network. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Welcome back to segment 2 of Tripp's Corner. We're here with Cooper Henderson and Coach. Again, let's backtrack just a little bit and tell us about some of your moments of playing football in Artesia.
I think any young man that goes through and plays football, in their athletic career, those are things that are good memories because you're around teammates and people that you still and today, care about and people you like. And my playing days are like a lot of young men as far as just really enjoying them, had a great time, really wasn't sure what to do when they were over with, and so decided to go ahead and try to play college ball. I don't know if we want to talk about it. None of that was real exceptional, but made an effort. I really enjoyed playing the game. Probably people today would look and say I was a tight end, and you can't probably not too much, but I've always kidded about that. Getting to be a receiver, and we didn't throw quite as much, although I enjoyed the blocking as a head coach. I got to choose what we did, so we throw the ball a lot more when we got down to that level. But had a real enjoyable experience. I did not play on my junior and senior year were not state championship years. But again, I think that's where you also learn. You can learn a lot through the game, regardless of what kind of season you have, I think.
Mm-hmm. Coach, let's talk a little bit now about life after Artesia football, Artesia High School. You go on to Eastern New Mexico, and this is kind of like the time where things start to change as far as your interest in coaching and whatnot. And at Eastern, you did play a little bit of football, like you said. But what was it about Eastern that attracted you? Were there any offers, any other schools you were kind of looking at maybe going, or was Eastern the one?
I honestly, I'm looking back, wondered. I was really appreciative looking back on my schooling that my parents probably were. They just let us make decisions, and I'm really glad they did, because I'd really been interested, and I got an appointment to the Air Force and the Coast Guard Academy, and that's kind of where I was headed. And then I was still crazy enough to think that when I went there that they'd be interested in me in football. And when they weren't, I really wanted to play some more football, and the coaches at Eastern did give me a little help and again, academically was able to do some things there I wanted to. And so went to Eastern to play football, and no doubt, I say, you can look at me and you can see probably that was not something I had a great future in, but I did learn a lot, I feel like. Played for 2 years, and then my junior year I helped there at the junior high with the kids, and ended up eventually going into coaching right out of Eastern at Artesia High School. And so it was a great, it really helped prepare me in a lot of ways. And I think every experience you have does, whether they're things that you learn you want to do or not do. I can't say that I made any big difference in Eastern's football team for sure, but I feel like that I learned a lot during those years, both about life and education, and also, be honest, I think one thing's helped me as a coach, being a bench rider. I mean, I think I understand what those kids and how to motivate those young men that aren't getting as much playing time. about being a part of the game and how that's still they're an important part of the team. And being in that role when you've come through, I think, as a high school athlete and always been a player, gives you another perspective also. Right. That's good.
You know, take you back to your dad again really quick. Was there much influence coming from him, or did you just say, you know, I want to be like Dad a little bit, I want to coach, or was that pretty much just your own?
It's more of my parents really allowed us to do one. I think my brother probably I have a brother and a sister that both went into coaching. So I think we grew up like you're talking about in that family, right, where everybody enjoyed what we were doing. My brother was at Eastern also, which was another reason going, and he was a player, a lot much better than me as a quarterback, and he was a good player. And so I really enjoyed, that's another thing I really enjoyed those couple years at Eastern. I worked real hard at catching the ball, but I got to catch from him. In high school, he was 3 years ahead, so I never got to play with him, so that was fun. And I say my sister ended up going into coaching and teaching as well, so I think we just all really enjoyed that part of our background that made us decide that's what we wanted to do in life.
And I'm going to bring up a controversial topic, not about you, but just coaching in general, in that coaches, a lot of coaches that go into coaching today, some people say they're ready, they're not prepared. Did you feel at the time that you went into coaching that you were prepared to be a coach, or at least even an assistant coach, and kind of groom yourself to become a head coach?
I think everybody coming out of college feels like they're prepared and learn pretty quick. They have got right. A whole lot to learn. My goal once I went into coaching was always to be a head coach, so I had a vision there of what I wanted to do. And to me, everywhere I coached, I picked up ideas of this is what I'd like to do. And I think it's some of a young coach, it's been fun working with them, saying, you know, learn the things you want to do. You'll learn some things you don't want to do at each place you're at. But I was really fortunate, I feel like, to be under some different people. We could talk a minute about, you know, just that experience if you want to. Yes. I mean, I think sometimes one of the things that helped me the most is one of the places I went was Artesia High, and our head coach there is someone I'd still consider a mentor. He's still alive. I still talk to him quite a bit. But he did things much differently than my dad did. And so it was interesting, and we were successful to find that there was more than one right way or more than one right. good way to do things and philosophies about things. And I still would say I've taken more from my dad of what I do in my coaching, but he helped me tremendously learn what a good coach really does. And so I really feel like that the people you meet along the way make a huge difference.
Major difference. Coach, in the couple of minutes that we have left in this segment, let's fast forward now to your first head job.
Okay.
Which is in Ruidoso, New Mexico, the Warriors. How did that kind of come about?
That's a really funny story, and I'll go quick with it. But for the head coach at Amarillo told me, I said, I love it here. I said, do you think if you leave someday, I'd get the head job? He said, well, go downtown and ask him. Went downtown, they said, nope, you got to have head coaching experience, which I was glad they were honest with me. So I started putting out applications. I put out applications to every school in Texas, West Texas, little bitty towns, San Antonio, clear to the North Texas border. Never got a letter back or an interview. I applied at Ruidoso, and it's kind of interesting. The people that were administrators there were real close friends with a lot of people at Eastern, and one of the people was Dallin Sanders, who was head of Campus Union and Housing. Long story short, I always tell kids, after I got through playing at Eastern, I ended up they let me run the athletic dorm and do some stuff, but basically they were real impressed because I kept it clean and emptied the trash well and got kids to, you know, take a little pride in the dorm and all that kind of stuff. So I always tell them I got my first head coaching. I thought because I was from Artesia and had good football background, and I thought in Ruidoso. But actually, the reason I got the job because the guy that was impressed how well I emptied garbage and worked with people told him there at Ruidoso that I'd be the guy. In fact, Dallin said he told him if they hired somebody else, he'd drive up there to see him because he thought I was the person. And they really took more on that than based on my football background, which I was always thinking that my background in football would get me the job. So that's how I got to Ruidoso, but it went well.
That's interesting. Coach, when we come back in segment 3, we're going to talk about the days leading up to your head job in Artesia and the current AD position. Coming up next on Tripp's Corner.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884 1234. Garden Swords Team Sales.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with ProView Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of ProView Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean. Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of ProView Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Welcome back to segment 3 here on Tripp's Corner. We're with Hall of Fame and legendary Coach Cooper Henderson from Artesia and the current athletic director. Coach, that was an interesting story how you got the Ruidoso job. You know, we want to cover a lot here in our last segment, but, you know, let's talk now. Fast forward again. Now you're, of all places, Artesia, back home in Artesia. How did that come about?
Well, I would say that probably the Ruidoso, you know, wherever you are is home, and I felt that way. My family had moved from Artesia right after I graduated, so Ruidoso became home because my wife Judy and I had our second child. Our first child was born just before we went there, so Ruidoso was home, and I came in one spring and said, you know, I really think we ought to just stay here the rest of our life, and so we moved that spring. So that, you know, how those things lots of time go. But Artesia job opened up, and no doubt when it did, I visited with them in Artesia, and the program there and the way the people were willing to support it was something that was just very attractive at that particular time. I really loved my years in Ruidoso, and the people are still very special, and it's a very special time to me. But that opportunity came open, and in 1989 I moved to Artesia. I'd been the athletic director and head football at Ruidoso, went to Artesia and went back to the classroom and taught and was the head football for a few years before I became the AD. But it was a good opportunity, and one that we've never regretted. We've never regretted any of our moves, and my wife and I have been really pleased about raising our family in Artesia, and what opportunities that's presented them and it presented us, and no doubt we've stayed for a long time, and, and so they put up with us for a long time, and we still really enjoy the community in many aspects.
You know, Coach, you know, we can sit here and talk for hours about the games. We can talk for hours about the victories, state championship runs, whatnot. But again, you know, let's talk about Artesia, just the program and the community again. And I have a couple of questions I have to ask right away because I'm getting old in my old age. But question one, you know, a lot of people ask about the dog pile. How did that originate?
You know, that's one you're going to have to keep investigating, because even it started, it was not started by 16. My dad coached there till early 70s, and it started by the time I graduated in 73. It started, but somewhere late 60s to 70s, it started right through there, and I still can't. It's one of those things I've wished my dad has passed. I never really asked him about it, and I have not gotten someone to tell me an exact, but it's been around since about 1970, 71, right through there, and it's just become part of the tradition there, and the kids love it, and we have a good time with it.
You know, the other question, Coach, is, of course, the tie. I noticed on the field, not Rex, they're in black ties tonight. Yeah. Usually it's an orange tie. Is that more of a professionalism? How did that start?
It's just something I've always felt like that we wanted our profession to be really professional as coaches, and you go out places. We started that in my early years at Artesia, and they've continued. I've been pleased with that after I've left the head coaching job, and just one of those areas that you know, kids, the game night's a special night, and to me, they want their uniform to look right.
Right.
I want our coaches to look the same way. I want us to look the same way as players, ready to go and ready to give it our best.
You know, Coach, one of the things, you being an educator for so many years, the players which have come your way, the students which have crossed your path in the classroom, we all say we taught. But what has all this taught you? What has the journey from start to now taught you, whether it's football, the students, the athletes? What has it taught you?
I think, and I may have kind of mentioned this on something earlier, but I really think one of the things that I've learned is that each of us can make a difference, and it doesn't matter our role. A lot of people know right now, I'm coaching sophomore team right now and still working with kids.
Coaching.
You're still working with kids, and you can make a difference wherever you are. You know, and I think one of the things that I've found that you just got to find your way to develop relationships with, whether it's as an AD with your coaches or with a coach with your athletes, and that as you develop those relationships, you can really make a difference. And I think that's also just a philosophy that people have who have, I call it servant leadership. That's what we strive to do. That's what we strive to teach the young men. I've been real blessed in my life that my wife is one of those type people. She's made it much easier for me to accomplish the things I have, because she's been someone who's been right there, 100% support, excited about what I'm doing from beginning to end. And I really have, to me, it's just one of those things. The more people, you know, and I've heard you talk to these other coaches, the most exciting thing you can have is when a young person comes back, and when they come to town, they want to come see you. Right. If they want to come see you, you know you made a difference, and that's still, I think, the real joy of being in our business.
You know, Coach, one last question before we take off here. We got to get ready for a football game. The Bulldogs are in town. But again, along those lines, you know, of Artesia, New Mexico, there's something special about Friday Night Lights in Artesia. It's almost like a college atmosphere. But again, I want to talk about the community, the way the community embraces this program and the school and the student athletes. It really is something special.
And I would say one of the things that I feel that we've done a good job in doing is developing those relationships between our athletes and the younger players. On game day, they get to go to the elementary schools that become, again, role models for those young players, which carries responsibilities. I think some of those things have really made a difference in how we've been able to develop that spirit in our community. And again, we're just blessed with a lot of good leaders and our quarterback club leaders, people who want us to do well.
You get a lot of those alumni coming back, I suppose, once in a while to talk to these young men.
Sure do. Have people that are really proud of what they're doing. In our homecoming nights, we usually have quite a few groups that try to meet. It was just last week, and so we have quite a few of those groups that come back and are still very proud. We have a Hall of Champions down there, if you're ever down there, that we kind of like to talk about to people that that our alumni are real proud of.
It is something pretty special if you're ever down in the Bulldog Bowl. It is the mecca of high school football to me. But, Coach, you know, one last question. We got to go. But, you know, again, life lesson number one. What do you tell these athletes?
And I think one thing I'm real proud of, most time our athletes could tell you we have a short range goal and a long range goal, and at the end of the season, you know, when a reporter, someone asks them, most of them could tell them that the long range goal is to be a successful man in life, and that's a husband, father, breadwinner, whatever it may be they choose. Short range goal is be a state champion. You know, that's never going to change. And some years you get there, some years you don't. But the long range goal you can get to. And we spend a lot of time about trying to define what success can mean. It can mean a lot of different things to different people, and each young man to develop their own definition of what that success is going to be.
Coach, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank you. It's sure been a pleasure, too.
Wow, this is pretty awesome for me. A great experience interviewing Cooper Henderson. Thank you, everybody, for watching Tripp's Corner. Until next time, peace, everybody. We're out.